You're watching Business Television India.
Hello and welcome to Business Television India. You're watching Rajniti. In a big shot in the arm for the NDA government, a UK court has ordered the extradition of one of India's biggest economic offenders, Vijay Mallya, the high-flying head of Kingfisher Airlines, who now after a year-long trial is set to be extradited back to India. Mallya, as we all know, is wanted in India on charges of fraud, money laundering amounting to a massive 9,000 crore of rupees. He now has an appeal that he can file to the UK government, and the order on his extradition will be based on that verdict. So, to take that discussion forward and the implications for what this move means for Vijay Mallya as well as the creditors, I am now joined by Aishwarya Mahadev, spokesperson of the Congress Party, Vaibhav Aggarwal, spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. We are also joined by noted lawyer Hitesh Jain, partner at AL&T Legal. I want to come to you on the procedural aspects first, Hitesh. How soon can we expect Mr. Mallya to land back in India? Number one. And I ask you this in the backdrop of other criminal offenders and fugitives who have been in London for well over almost a decade and a half now. Given the nature of the ruling today, what is your own assessment, Hitesh?
Today's order is a very significant and a landmark verdict. Not only it has ordered an extradition, but it has made some scathing observation. Why this is relevant? Because Mallya has got 4 weeks' time to file an appeal. In the teeth of such scathing observations made by the court today, it will be very difficult task for Mallya to sustain to challenge this verdict in the appeal court. So what we have to see is that when he has the remedy of filing an appeal, as to what are the next steps for him. So if it is going to be a difficult chance for him in the appeal, and although it's a procedural formality where he will have to file the appeal, but it will certainly give a leg up to the CBI before the court, because on all the factual aspects and other aspects, including a very important observation that was made by the court that there is no abuse of process of law, and there is no such threat as alleged by Mr. Mallya in the Indian legal system or the judicial system, which he was complaining all in the extradition court. So from that perspective, this is an order that can be sustained in the appeal court. And basically, we will have to wait whether Mr. Mallya will indeed, in fact, choose to file an appeal, or whether he would like to, follow the order and then return back to India. So we will have to now wait towards that direction.
Hitesh, one more point before I open it up to the party spokesperson on the panel, and this is the point that you touched. The ruling has said that it is satisfied on the condition of Indian jails. This was one of the key sort of stances by Vijay Mallya's legal team. The court has said that Mallya can consult his doctors and possibly get home-cooked meals. And it has also said that courts in India do not follow any political vendetta. I therefore want to understand from you, in the last 48 hours, Mr. Mallya has renewed his request saying, take the money, I have it ready. How seriously should that offer be taken, or was it just a tactic, as a last-minute tactic to avoid this order?
Well, frankly speaking, this is a last-minute tactic to avoid the order. Mr. Mallya was coming up with all the stunts every now and then. He was aware during the hearing itself, when the prosecution presented the case, It was a foolproof case that was presented, and I'm sure his lawyers would have told him that it's going to be very difficult for them to rebut the case of the prosecution that was filed in the court. But if Mr. Mallya is really serious enough in his offer, you do not put such statement on the Twitter or just make some casual statement in London. You basically send a demand draft to the bank and tell that here is the money, this is the color of the money, now I'm talking business and I'm ready to settle. He, in last 2 or 3 years, except making some vague statement here or there was no serious offer made, realistic, serious offer made by Mr. Mallya to settle the dues of the bank.
No, I disagree with Hitesh ji. That's lack of information at his end.
Okay, Hitesh ji, Vaibhav Aggarwal of the BJP wants to supplement what you just said.
Yeah, so the idea is that for us, Vijay Mallya is an economic fugitive. But to my perspective, let's call it a spade if it's a spade. At least let's not decreditize him for something that he is not responsible for. Saying that he would have given that money, no, he's already deposited that money in the court. The court has to agree. A court in India, which is the Karnataka High Court, the money is deposited with the court has to release the money. So let that be there. We are only questioning his extradition via the 3 charges that CBI and ED have. You know, so which makes him an economic fugitive, and that's our case. That's exactly where we should stick on to it. We should not pass judgments like that.
Is the BJP's case that this is one of the biggest successes of a law that was introduced via an ordinance? This is economic offenders, and obviously it begs the question: after Mallya, who else?
See, so this shows the commitment of the government, which comes in not just committed to bring the economic fugitives back home and punish them and bring them to book and give them justice for the sake of the Indian people, in the larger interest of the country. But it also shows that the Indian government is absolutely clued on when it comes to policy framework. We first made a policy framework before we went all out. But we also instituted an investigation simultaneously. We registered a case in ED, we registered a case in CBI, we got agencies to investigate the matter. And when our law framework was there to back up from a rhetoric, you understand that the bill that we passed...
But it took 4 years for that law.
Yes, it took 4 times.
Let me get the Congress spokesperson. She's been waiting patiently. Aishwarya, you know, the Congress had for quite some time now criticized the NDA government for the flight of these economic fugitives, and other allegations were made that the government was close, or the party was close to other offenders, including, for instance, Mehul Choksi or Nirav Modi. What would you say to this development, and would you credit the BJP for having gotten in the legal amendment which has made this possible, Aishwarya?
First and foremost, I think a lot of the measures came in a little too late, because a lot of economic offenders, and not just 9,000 crores, but way more, has gone out of the country, while, you know, that we've seen that members and family members of ministers of the BJP having handled cases, or even ministers having met certain economic offenders. Irrespective of all of that, credit where it is due, the extradition process is a step in the right direction. However, the test of how committed the Modi Sarkar is going to be on how they're going to try and see the disbursement of the amount that is due, how the consortium of banks is going to try and gain what it has lost, and how this is going to become a strong example to bring more people, because the political will in this case seems to have been very strong, but the sort of political will we've seen being displayed in the Mehul Choksi, Lalit Modi and the Nirav Modi cases are quite contrary to this one. So we hope and pray that, you know, for everything that Vaibhav has spoken about and how proactive his government is, that hopefully Vijay Mallya is not the only person that they bring back, and then there are other people with close interests, of course, to a certain political family who are brought back as well.
Oh, absolutely. Certain political families, just if I may add, you know, let me reiterate the commitment of the government in a very organized fashion. The crimes have been done in a very unorganized fashion, just like the mafia used to do, phone banking on loan greening, you know. So we do not believe in all that. We believe in bringing to the justice after we bring in a framework which is more permanent in nature. That is how you're able to bring a logical conclusion.
If I can interject, Vaibhav.
Now we've opened a Pandora's box, and now it will just flow in.
You given me opening as far as the Pandora's box is concerned. Other observers in the market, and very quickly moving away from Mallya, are worried about the consequences of the Pandora's box of a resignation by a sitting RBI governor. What would you say to that, Vaibhav?
I'll tell you what. Anyone who knows how the BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, functions in the present day and the circumstances under the Modi government, we have to understand that the finance ministry is led by a very, very capable man called Mr. Arun Jaitley, and the Prime Minister is an extremely capable leader, Narendra Bhai Modi. They are working for the country as public servants. They're not working for the country as rulers of the country. As we've seen in past 70 years, a particular family, a particular class, creed has done to this country. So when we talk of an administrative head resigning from an executive position, I think it's hardly a loss for anyone in the markets. Let me reassure that the government is more than prepared to handle such exigencies. And of course, RBI needs to have a governor immediately, and we will have the system rolling in. The ball doesn't stop rolling, the business doesn't stop, right, and the markets will not stop roaring, as I can say.
Okay, so we'll have to wait for another 12 hours for the markets to give us their reaction. The rupee reacting, SGX Nifty reacting. It could be for various other reasons. The markets were down pretty much today. Hitesh, I want to come back to you for the legal point of view, where some of our viewers are asking and tweeting. And the question that is being asked is, as far as Mr. Mallya is concerned, if he were to come back, what will happen within India? What will be the legal proceedings in India? How soon can we be able to expect that some justice will be given in terms of whatever the penal sort of thing that is carried with the law, as well as how soon can the money be recovered, Hitesh?
Siddharth, there are two aspects to the proceedings. One is the criminal aspect of the proceedings, and one is the civil aspect of the proceedings. The civil aspect of proceedings are all underway. People are examining the assets. People are looking at the bank account. All the properties are getting attached. So the recovery process is already started. It is not waiting for Mr. Mallya to return. In fact, one of his grievances is that although the claim with interest is around 9,500 and he has assets worth rupees 14,000 crores, and looking at the stringent provisions of Economic Offenders Bill, if it does not come, then then there will be a risk of losing the entire asset even after repaying all the dues of the bank and the interest, bank's principal amount and the interest. As far as the criminal aspect is concerned, once Mr. Mallya is back, that matter he will be put on the trial. We have an important leg up today where the extradition court has clearly held that prima facie there is a case and the material clearly shows that there has been an offence that has been committed by Mr. Mallya and how he has gamed the system. All those observations are also there, which will be very useful. So if we were able to convince and nail Vijay Mallya in the UK court on the basis of evidence that was submitted, one thing is for sure that we have a foolproof evidence against him to prove the criminal charges in India. So you will see the trial also will move at should move at a good pace in India. And secondly, you will also see the recovery proceedings also.
Money come at the end of the trial, or will the money come before the trial in parallel to it, Hitesh?
Well, money will be recovered in parallel. Money need not wait for the trial court proceedings. But certainly presence of Mallya in India will really put the pressure. And as a lawyer, we have always seen that there has to be some pressure on the person, so that there is a realistic cooperation and the person also allows the assets to be sold to ensure that his dues are recovered. So it will be from both the sides. From one end, there will be civil proceedings which will also move in the top gear once he is back, and also the criminal proceedings. So the pressure will be on Mr. Mallya.
Possibility of a plea bargain kind of arrangement in this case?
Well, in matters pertaining to money laundering and all, there is no possibility of plea bargain. But if he admits to the offences, then that's altogether a different story. But for that purpose, also at the end of the day, the charges have to be proved according to the Indian legal system. So we do not have the American system of plea bargain over here. But certainly, the the investigation has been completed and the evidence has been kept ready, and this was the same evidence that was submitted to the UK court. So there is not going to be any duplication or wastage of time in further investigating, which is where in India the trials are delayed or the lack of proof. So from all perspectives, we are prepared. As soon as it comes back, we can have an expedited trial.
An expedited trial is a key point. I want to go to the Congress spokesperson once again. The larger point, Aishwarya, that this raises is that clearly it is going to be a big feather in the cap for the BJP government, for the NDA government and for Prime Minister Modi. I remember lawyers had criticized some of the provisions of the Fugitive Economic Offenders Bill as being very draconian, but you know, in the court of public opinion, Aishwarya, Vijay Mallya landing back in India will be a big leg up to the BJP and its claims of fighting corruption. The BJP constantly targets the Congress for having given out loans in excessive quantities, and Vaibhav just spoke about phone banking. What would you say to that, Aishwarya?
See, no matter what sort of anti-corruption battle they're fighting in 6 months before elections, the previous 4.5 years of their track record is good enough to show you and also outdo what they're trying to do right now. I believe a lot of this is posturing, a lot of the timing is also suspect. But irrespective of any of that, I don't think any of this is going to matter as much, because first of all, some of these targeted attacks are trying to besmirch the reputation of other political parties. Some of them are political vendettas. The case of Vijay Mallya, of course, everybody knows that every time you point a finger at us, we understand who was the minister that met him before he left, what he had offered, and whatnot, as is the case with who the lawyers were for Lalit Modi and Nirav Modi at the end of it. However, the one thing I want to tell you is that what has happened over the past 4 years, and especially what you were asking Vaibhav also about the RBI governors, is the fact that the Narendra Modi Sarkar has completely decimated the institutional integrity of all institutions in the administration, which is why you're seeing unprecedented fallout in the CBI, the RAW, you see the CVC questioning itself, the judges coming out in a press conference, and now this with the RBI. And speaking about market, Siddharth, as much as Vaibhav likes to downplay it, the World Bank itself had commented about the sort of volatility created by the problems with the government and the governing bank, and that is something the markets, I think, at some point will reflect. However, the institutions apart, Narendra Modi's government in the 4.5 years has not given us anything economically, progress-wise or social welfare-wise. So this entire 6 months of orchestrated witch hunts, which you will see, of course, and these extraditions and all of which could have done previously, which could have been done much previously, all of them are going to be for naught, because 4.5 years of damage is good enough and it's fresh in the people's memory, like your GST, your demonetization, and you know, honestly speaking, a huge form of like certain individuals benefiting more than anybody else. Like, you know, you want to talk about corruption, there's Jay Shah, there's the Ambanis and whatnot, and Adani, of course. So they have nothing to go on, and I don't think this is going to attack us anyway. But hopefully the legal process, as the lawyer here spoke about, will get done as soon as it has to.
It's a wait and watch situation for all of us. But what we're doing is we're time and again proving that 4.5 years we've not been sitting on our hands. We've been drawing towards a legal, logical conclusion at the end of the matter for the issues that we are facing. Now, my only question.
You could have done it faster.
Well, it's not that easy, because my question, if the system was so fallible in terms of doing it faster, then, you know, Congress would have been much easier. They've been in power for such a long time. The 1999 bomb blast happened. They could have extradited Dawood Ibrahim much earlier. We had all the proof, but we did not even get close to it. Forget about extraditing him. We extradited Christian Mitchell in less than 1 year.
Okay, Mallya,
you know, come on.
and Michelle, Mallya, Michelle,
I'm placing
Mehul,
all the equal
Mallya, Michelle,
some people are financial terrorists, some people are criminal terrorists.
Fair enough. Mallya, Michelle, and hopefully Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi.
Of course, we already have the other country on record on this.
Let's take a quick listen into what former Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi, who was the lawyer on behalf of the State Bank of India, had said on the issue of the money being put up by, so-called money being put up by Mallya on the table. Let's take a quick listen in.
He's a happy man today.
I was quite certain that extradition would be ordered. I was appearing for the State Bank of India in the Supreme Court. I appeared in the contempt proceedings against him. It was apparent to the Supreme Court, which held him guilty of contempt, that he was playing not only with the courts but with the highest court in the land, giving false information and affidavits to the court. In the United Kingdom, things don't drag on as it drags on in this country. I am sure the appeal will come to an end within a couple of months, and the logical end is that when he is brought on a plane back to India, and then he will face the music of all these cases, and then if he does show the color of money, even then maybe something or somebody can look at it, but he must put the money on the table rather than saying, I will pay, I will pay. So that's the logical end of this case. And who owe huge amounts, you see, to people, and you have the case of Modi and Choksi and all that, and I think that should also strike fear in their hearts that the best thing is to come back to this country, sell all your assets and repay the banks, and then lead an honorable life rather than lead a life of being a fugitive hiding in some country or the other. So this should be an eye-opener to all concerned.
We had also spoken to Senior Counsel Lakshmi Iyengar. Let's listen to what she had to say.
The Enforcement Directorate has probably done its job, and now if they're bringing him down, it would be mainly for the Fugitive Economic Offences Court, which is in Mumbai, and also the prevention of money laundering. He's booked under those two matters. But for us, it's more of recovering of the money that is due to all the creditors in the United Breweries Holdings Limited, which has been wound up before the Karnataka High Court, and it's in the appeal stage. Now, for him to make such offers at this point of time is quite similar to what he'd made earlier. So he would have to depend on what the courts hold, whether they would want to continue and confirm the winding up order, which in case then the offer of settlement will not hold. All of that is dependent on what the courts here hold. The Supreme Court can't seize itself of the matter at this point of time with regards to the criminal proceedings. So that will have to be over. But having said that, the Supreme Court had already given him this option of trying to settle long ago, when he had gone on appeals as against the orders, interim orders before the Karnataka High Court and various other orders. And in fact, the Supreme Court had held against him because so they did give him a good amount of time to settle. He did not. So at this point of time, he would still have to wait for the appeals before the Karnataka High Court, which is as against the single judge's order of winding up.
Well, clearly, there is going to be some amount of legal proceeding, and like Hitesh Jain also was saying, that the law in India will have to take its due course, and for sure the UK court which will extradite him will also put in some conditionalities. That is very much clear. But I want to end this debate on what Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said a little while ago on this. He described this ruling as a great day for India and said no one who cheats India will go scot-free. The judgment of the UK's court is welcome. An offender benefited during the UPA. The NDA brings him to book. And clearly that is how the political debate around the Rajniti around Mallya will shape up. But in the days ahead, the people of this country, the Aam Aadmi, will be looking to two things. One, justice being delivered to such offenders, and more importantly for the banking system, money actually coming back. And if Mallya really has that money, very clearly a day of reckoning, not just in a court of law, but in paying back his dues, is upon that former high flyer of the Indian corporate scene. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Rajniti. I'm going to thank my guests here, Vaibhav, Aishwarya, as well as Hitesh Jain for their time. More news and updates will continue on the other side of a very short break. Stay with us.